Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. We've had a very important development today when it comes to the Middle East, especially with the United States admitting that 3 of its soldiers were killed in Al-Tanf base. Now, before I go into the details of Al-Tanf base, it wasn't only this base that was attacked today. Today we had 5 attacks from the Iraqi resistance. They attacked At-Tanf base, Rukban, Ash-Shaddadi. All of them are in Syria, and I'll get to why they're saying it's in Jordan, by the way, At-Tanf. And they also attacked a location near Erbil that they said belongs to the United States forces. And they attacked a maritime facility in Zevulun, which is in Israel. So remember that. It wasn't only the attack in At-Tanf, but the attack in At-Tanf obviously got the most attention because the United States admitted that they lost 3 of their soldiers in. So, why did they initially say it was Jordan? This is a very important question. The first thing that came to my mind is why are they saying that it's in Jordan when they know very well that Al-Tanf base is not in Jordan? It was never part of Jordan, Al-Tanf. It has always been part of Syria. And as a matter of fact, Syria and Russia and China, they always ask the Americans to leave that base and give it back to the Syrian government. So why are they saying it's in Jordan? Is there a plan to put Jordan in this war, force them in this war? We all know that Israel has a plan to expel the Palestinians of the West Bank. To do that, they have a pretext. Is that linked with their latest escalation when it comes to the Rafah border and the Philadelphia corridor that I spoke about yesterday? Ethnic cleansing on a mass scale. So it's very dangerous, the fact that they're saying it's in Jordan. And Jordan had to go out several times to say that it wasn't in our territory. It's not in our territory. As a matter of fact, Jordan previously said many times that At-Tanf is in Syrian territory. We will never be interested in crossing our border. And whenever the United States leaves that base, we would need to have an agreement with everyone that everyone would be pleased with, but we won't go and occupy that area. Okay, so it wasn't just At-Tanf that was attacked. It was a diversified attack from the Iraqi resistance, which comes simultaneously with a statement from a man called Al-Wala'i, who is a leader of Sayyid al-Shuhada brigades, which is part of the Iraqi resistance. Because remember, when we say the Islamic resistance in Iraq, this is a term to be used when you identify the collective, the majority of the resistance movements in Iraq. There is no movement called the Iraqi resistance. I mean, when the United States invaded Iraq, there was the Islamic resistance in Iraq. It was an organization. But now when you hear that term, it's used to identify most of the groups operating in Iraq and mostly are aligned with Iran. And another question arises here with this base attack and why it's making so many headlines, so much headlines. This is the 170th attack. We had 170 attacks on American bases in the Middle East since the genocide began. Were there only 3 that were killed? Does anyone totally and truly believe that? I mean, they admitted that some of them were wounded previously, but not killed. But do we believe that only 3 Americans were killed? Not really. I mean, history shows that the United States lies when it comes to the level of casualties they have, the United States administration. As a matter of fact, official figures from the United States said that 4,431 or so were killed during the war in Iraq, which is a massive lie. I mean, the Iraqi resistance by 2009, sorry, they recorded literally 32,000 casualties, and they had lots of evidence to support it. Back then, the media was full of Iraqi resistance attacks against American soldiers. So obviously, the United States, they lie, the administration. Why now? Is it linked with the increased tensions that they have internally and the risk of civil war, especially when we're talking about Texas and its feud with the government, especially when it comes to the borders? They have feuds, and the United States wants to send the National Guard to Texas now because of their disagreements with them regarding the wires on the borders. Texas wants to take measures to prevent immigration. The federal government, the main United States government, they don't want them to do that, and they're not listening. Is it linked? Is it something to say, oh no, look, our soldiers are dying in the Middle East, please, let's leave this alone. Let's focus on what's happening 5,000 miles away, far away from our country. Because one of the reasons that the United States wasn't admitting or did not release any casualties publicly regarding the attacks on the bases in the Middle East after this genocide started is to not scare people off and put them off, their soldiers, from coming, because they want to send 1,500 troops. What are they going to tell them? Look, everyone's dying. It's going to be a little bit demotivating, isn't it? America is very, when I say America, obviously I mean the United States government. They focus heavily on glamorizing the US military and the military-industrial complex to let people and encourage them to join the army. Because otherwise, why would people join the army and travel overseas? What do you have to do there? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense, but it has to make sense somehow to the people. So they didn't want to put them off. And this could potentially be linked to the internal problems that the United States government is facing with Texas, and especially with more senators and more politicians supporting Texas with its stance against the government. Whether or not you obviously agree with what they're doing, but there's friction there. And the last thing that the government needs in the United States is this happening now. So this was the first part that I wanted to talk about when it comes to this attack. Obviously, we've had statements from Biden that there's going to be a response. Lloyd Austin said that Iranian-backed movements, had they carried out these attacks, but he didn't blame Iran directly, which is important because the wording and the responsibility, they're very important things when it comes to this conflict, because once you stop blaming a country directly, it takes a different legal perspective. There's different political moves to be taken as well. The second thing that I want to talk about is the latest report that countries stopped funding the UNRWA, which is a UN organization made specifically to support the Palestinian refugees, their development, human development, education, etc., in the Levant area. So Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. The Palestinians rely heavily on the UNRWA. And Israel apparently provided evidence showing that employees of the UNRWA carried out or participated in carrying out the 7th of October attacks. This led to a call internally from the UNRWA to investigate. They obviously suspended the employment of the people in question that Israel supposedly provided information and evidence about. But this made some countries completely stop the funding for the UNRWA. And these countries are the United States, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, Canada, Netherlands, Italy, Australia, and Finland. I deliberately wanted to name them so that people can know which countries stopped supporting the UNRWA, and the Palestinian refugees rely on the UNRWA very heavily. What's the problem with this? Well, there are multiple problems. Number one, it's saying that the acts that were carried out against Israel, so it's saying that these attacks were not justified. That's one thing. The second thing that we're understanding is that the organization itself that was set up as a result for a country committing ethnic cleansing, mass expulsion, mass genocide against other people, the organization that was primarily established for these purposes, to provide support for those refugees who were forced out by this state, is believing the side that is responsible for making these people suffer from the beginning. So you have the massive criminal, the psychopath, the lunatic, the genocidal person, and you are believing him, and you're stopping your support for the victim. That's what the countries took as a step, the countries that stopped supporting the UNRWA, stopped the funding that I just named. Absurd, very absurd. You have an organization set up for a specific reason that was caused by this criminal, and the criminal provides evidence. Look, hello, there you go, this is my evidence, and believe me, right? What are you doing exactly? What is this? Where do we live? So they stopped funding them. What does this mean? This means that, especially seeing that many of these countries are support really heavily, especially the United States, they're the biggest supporter. And by the way, Trump cut the funding in 2018, if you recall. This means that this will increase. Firstly, it's shameful, obviously. All of these countries that supported, that cut the aid are shameful. So is Israel. So the United Nations as an organization, if not even malicious, okay? Malicious, why? Because now the Palestinians are going to suffer more. These people have schools, they run many things to do with aid in Gaza and in other parts for the people who are most in need. Why now, and how is it related to Israel's campaign in Rafah? Okay, most of the Palestinians are now in the southern part of Gaza, approximately 1.4 million, so there's still around 1 million up north. If you're gonna cut the aid at such a high level, obviously and thankfully, we have donors, right? There's people who support, there's individuals, other organizations apart from the UNRWA. But UNRWA is traditional, it was set up in 1949 for the sole purpose of supporting Palestinian refugees. And again, that's why I find it absurd that they're believing the side that's they're believing Israel, they're believing the occupier, they're believing the criminal. Absurd. But this will cause more problems for them in the south. Israel started carrying out attacks in the south. Yesterday, they informed Egypt, we're starting an operation to take control of the Philadelphia corridor, the line between Egypt and Gaza, the Rafah borders in Gaza. They informed them we're going to start carrying out an operation over there. Egypt is obviously very unhappy. I spoke about it yesterday. You can rewatch that video. And you have this perhaps a big crisis coming up with stopping the funding when it comes to the UNRWA from these countries. Where are the people going to go? They're going to have to go to Sinai because there's nothing left. Do you understand? And this is why I say it's malicious. Okay, now this is my understanding. I believe, things happen for a reason, right? And when you see a couple of things that are happening simultaneously, you need to question yourself. And that's not to say that it's 100% linked, but you need to question why are they happening at the same time and how could they be linked and who is benefiting from them. Israel is benefiting from them. And another thing about cutting the funding for the UNRWA as a whole, why would you punish all of the let's say you're on Israel's side, you believe the 7th of October was a terrorist attack, and you're denying anything that Israel did afterwards, okay? But there are multiple people in that organization. It employs, if not tens of thousands of people, UNRWA. Why cut the funding off all of the organization if only a few people carried out these actions? Well, they told you we suspended them. Isn't that reassuring? It doesn't make any sense. It's like someone working for a massive company doing a criminal act, stealing, lying, I don't know, whatever it is, and then you punish the whole company. You punish tens of thousands of people with livelihoods, with families, and you're talking about the most deprived people, the people who are most in need. I mean, how evil can you be? How immoral can you be? And you're believing the satanic death cult, the genocidal state. You're believing the state that's carrying out the Palestinian Nakba of 2023-2024, the Holocaust. It's worse than what the Germans were doing. They've destroyed over 80% of houses in Gaza, killed 26,000 people, 11,000 of which are children, 7,000 are women, thousands are missing under the rubble. Over 30 hospitals are not functioning. 600,000 people are at risk of total starvation. Where are we exactly? What are these countries? Who's running them? How evil are they? It's next level. It's sometimes beyond comprehension. The level of evil and the level of maliciousness, the level of inhumanity that these people have, their lack of respect for basic human rights, the way they don't view some lives at all, as if they don't mean anything whatsoever. And again, a festival of hypocrisy. They blow our minds because of the levels they talk about when it suits them. When you're talking about Ukraine, for example, although all of what they're doing in Ukraine isn't in support of the Ukrainian people, it's in support of their expansion. It's in support of their economical and political interests, their stupid arrogance against Russia. But the level of hypocrisy when it comes to this, you will be outraged about anything. When it comes to Ukraine, even recently, they're still visiting Ukraine. Yet you're not looking at the Palestinian life, and you're looking as if it means nothing. It just highlights what type of people we're dealing with here. But the fact that they are actually doing this simultaneously with Israel's plans to take over the Philadelphia corridor could potentially be very, very risky, because more and more people would potentially consider leaving. Not saying that, most of them would or whatever, but this is the plan. I mean, the whole campaign from the beginning was a plan to ethnically cleanse Palestinians and push them out. It didn't work. This is another attempt, in my opinion, and they'll do it at the expense of the most deprived people, which just really highlights what type of people we're talking about here and how evil they are. And these were the main things that I just wanted to talk to you about today. And I will hopefully see you soon in the next video. Take care.